Remember, this December 2015 playlist is going to be starting off by recapping the relevant material which I've done in the past. And as I've said, it started off with this playlist, Bus Company X app, and then moved on to No Framework PHP Endeavor playlist. Then it moved to Help Me CLI PHP app, and then moved on to other things. Right now, my focus is shifting to reviewing the videos in the No Framework PHP Endeavor. So the first video was No Framework PHP Endeavor. There I committed to building the No Framework codebase using Lynda PHP courses as a source of code and knowledge. I also decided I would use Symfony directory structure for the No Framework PHP codebase. Oh, and by the way, I did change my mind and decide to use Composer because it is useful in adding third-party code to my projects. So Composer use is demonstrated in the Bus Company X app playlist when I was using Symfony. Okay, so that's the previous playlist which I talked about in the previous videos in this playlist which you are looking at. And at the time, the code for the project, okay, on GitHub, it was in this repository called Bus Company X. However, locally, it was in Sandbox in this directory called Buscompa. Now, when I was working on that particular project, I had developed the techniques which would be like practical Git. How I would use Git in practice. Git has a lot of features. There's a set of practices which I use a lot, and those are used when I was working on that project when I was using Symfony for my code base, working on Bus Company X app. Now, while I was driving my bus, I wrote in notes in my Notes app, this thing, that one of the most important features of my code base is for it to recognize who the user is. Now, who the user is depends on which organization they belong to, what position they have in the organization, and which functionality the user has access to. Now, when you hear the word organization, this can be any organization, including if you are a member of a family. Your family is your organization. As a matter of fact, a person can belong to multiple organizations. A user of my app can belong to more than one organization. All right, so we're discussing the No Framework PHP Endeavor playlist. And from here on, in my playlist, I was to document how I reviewed the Lynda PHP courses and started building my PHP code for the No Framework project. Now, remember I talked about functionality, which functionality the user has access to? Well, that would depend on whether the user or his organization has purchased it, and it would also depend on the user's authority within that organization to use that feature. Now, I want to talk about this thing about purchasing features. This is like in-app purchases when you buy an app on your iPhone or your iPad, and then you want to add features to your app, so you do an in-app purchase. Or you could think of it as buying another app for your iPhone. Either way, you're adding features and you're probably going to need to pay for them.